Duke moved to number 1 after blowing out Kentucky in its season opener, only to lose the top spot 2 weeks later with a loss to Gonzaga in Maui. Well, the Blue Devils are back at number 1. Buoyed by a win over number 12 Texas Tech and Kansas's loss at No. 18 Arizona State. Duke moved atop the Associated Press Top 25 released on Monday, Tuesday, Manila time, receiving 35 of 64 first-place votes. Number 2 Michigan received 9 first-place votes, number 3 Tennessee got 12, and number 4 Virginia and No. 5 Kansas received 4 each. No. 6 Nevada, Gonzaga, Michigan State, Florida State and Virginia Tech rounded out the top 10. Duke, 11-1, started the season number 4 in the preseason poll, but moved to number 1 for a record-tying 135th week in the first regular season poll, after turning its opener against then No. 2 Kentucky into a laugher. The Blue Devils stayed in the top spot until a rally against Gonzaga in the Maui Invitational title game came up short. Duke worked its way up to number 2 and slid into the top spot after routing Princeton and holding off No. 12 Texas Tech last week. The 69-58 win over the previously unbeaten Red Raiders had a March-like feel at Madison Square Garden as 2 Elite 8 teams from a year ago played for the first time. "This is a great night for college basketball," Duke coach Mike Krzyzewski said. Wolverines rising. Michigan's follow-up to its national title game run a year ago keeps chugging along. Following a 21-point win over Air Force in their only game last week, the Wolverines, 12-0, moved up 2 spots in this week's poll, passing Tennessee. Michigan has its highest ranking since hitting number 1 during the 2012-13 season and still has that stifling defense, allowing 55.8 points per game, good for 3rd nationally. Vols just short. Tennessee won in 2 blowouts last week and added 10 more first-place votes than the week before. It wasn't good enough to keep the Vols ahead of undefeated Michigan. Tennessee, which lost to Kansas on November 23, finished a single point behind the Wolverines in the overall voting, 1,472 to 1,471. Buzzing Hokies. Virginia Tech entered the 2018-19 season with high expectations. The Hokies are living up to those so far under coach Buzz Williams. Virginia Tech moved into the top 10 for the first time since 1995-96 after beating North Carolina A&T in its only game last week. The Hokies have one blemish on their record by 1 at Penn State and have a win over then-ranked Purdue on their resume. Sun Devils, barely, rising. No. 17 Arizona State picked up one of the biggest wins in program history by knocking off top-ranked Kansas 80-76. The Sun Devils, 9-2, picked up only 1 spot in this week's poll thanks to a road loss to Vanderbilt the previous Sunday. The Jayhawks dropped 4 spots to number 5, but should get big man Udoka Azubuike back soon after he missed 4 games with a sprained ankle. Rising and falling. No teams made significant jumps in this week's poll. Number 10 Virginia Tech and No. 16 Kentucky were the biggest movers, adding 3 spots each. No. 21 Buffalo had the biggest drop, losing 7 places after losing to No. 18 Marquette. Number 12 Auburn and number 14 North Carolina lost 5 spots each. Furman's first run at being ranked came to an end this week after the Paladins lost by 20 to LSU. Nebraska dropped out of the poll from number 25 despite winning its only game last week. In and out. No. 20 North Carolina State, 11-1, moved into the poll for the first time since 2013 after knocking off then No. 7 Auburn on Wednesday and South Carolina Upstate on Saturday. No. 25 Oklahoma is ranked for the first time since hitting No. 4 in last year's poll. Voter death. Indiana beat writer and AP Top 25 poll voter Terry Hutchins died last week after being critically injured in an automobile collision. He was 60. Hutch covered the Hoosiers for CNHI Sports.